Welcome, welcome, welcome to
Full circle
Full Circle
chat.
Chat. It's I'm so excited to be here. It's been years in the making.
Yes.
And sometimes we have ideas in our minds and it takes so long to actually put action into it.
Mhm.
So just being in this room in this moment with you is first of all amazing, feels amazing. I'm excited for to go through this conversation with you. But we want to just really introduce people into what Full Circle Chat is, how we came up with the idea, and things of that nature. So, really, the idea around Full Circle Chat is to really engage in conversation with my partner, Dr. Veasy, about just life and some of the intricacies of life and purpose and perspective. So, my name's Christian Ume-Ezeoke, and I am joined by my co host, the one and only Dr. Betty
Woohoo!
Veasy.
Thank you, Christian.
Absolutely.
I am truly excited to be here with Christian. As he's already said, we have been together for a little bit, working together, relationships, talking about this, that, all sorts of things. And we said, we think there might be something we could say or do that might help somebody out there. So we are excited to be able to bring to you the one and only Full Circle Chat.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's an honor. Honestly, I have to say this first of all to for you to be open and willing to come on this journey with me. It's an honor. You have such an extensive experience with life, and your perspective is so unique, and I really appreciate it. So today, I think really we want the people to just get to know us just a little bit. Our history. How what we do, how we got to this point in our career, and things of that nature. So, Dr. Veasy, if you want to share a story about,
Oh my, why am
your
I
journey.
first? Why do I have to be first? Okay. See, this is we're gonna talk about this co-hosting type
All
thing.
right.
But for now, I'll go ahead. I'll go
All
ahead.
right. All
So
right.
for me, I started out, of course, graduating from high school, and I lived in the country in Missouri. And I thought to myself, what will I do? What will I do when I get done with school? I had no idea. So a friend and I decided, we're going to serve people. I said, serve people? What is she talking about? Serve people. So we went to work at a Dairy Queen. So we served people there. We learned how to talk to people, how to communicate. That's one of the things I learned from there. Then from that, she said, let's be nurses.
Wow.
Where do you get nurse and Dairy Queen? Does
From
anybody,
serving.
do you know how to get, do you know how to do that? I don't know how to do that. But anyway, that's what we did. We went, I got my nursing degree, and I just kind of left the country. That's where I was from. I knew that there wasn't a lot of opportunities there for me. And if I wanted something to happen in my mind, I said, you better move. So what's that song? Like the Beverly Hills, how you got in the truck and you left and you went there, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
I got in the car with my brother, moved to Illinois, and they helped me get a job at a hospital. Started working as a patient care tech. Then I thought, I want to do a little bit more. Started going to nursing school because they gave me some resources, and it worked out very well. Graduated from the school. Had to learn how to live by myself on an earlier age because I came out of the nest
All right.
of my parents,
Yeah.
and then to my brother and his wife, and then from there, all alone. So I had to juggle things. It wasn't easy. Now I'm going to tell you straightforward, it wasn't easy at all. Young person, you get in trouble, get out of trouble.
Yeah.
But it wasn't easy. But it was through the help of my coworkers that I worked with that they gave me that initiative to
Yeah.
succeed. And so from there, I'm where I'm at right here because of those people. Without those people, I would not be where I'm at. And I give that credit to them.
The support of others.
That's exactly.
I love it. I love it. No, that's a great story, and it just triggered something inside of me because you have to think about just how amazing life is. Because I think about my journey and just like a little bit of my history of if certain things didn't happen in certain moments, I wouldn't be here
Mm-hmm.
having this conversation with you. And I'll give you a little bit of insight of my story. My family, we lived in Lagos, Nigeria, up until I was about 11 years old. So my such a great story. So my aunt and her family lived here in the States, and this was like back in 1996, 95.
Mhm.
And there was something back then called the U.S. Diversity Visa Program, right? So she had the bright idea to put my dad in the pool of applicants,
Oh.
right? And this was just, siblings. One lives overseas, one lives here in the state, just having conversations. And she's like, "Hey, my family, we're here. I would love my brother to move in to the States with me, right?" So applies. She goes through the application process, and he gets selected
Oh.
for an interview, right? So
Wow.
and it's so crazy. And I'm going to tie this back to the point I said earlier, like everything has to happen at the right time, and you have to
Mhm.
realize it's happening for a reason. Because when my mom and dad went for the interview, during the interview process, and this is how amazing my aunt was. She's such an amazing human being. There was a paperwork missing during the interview time that would have, like, they were in the process of being denied if they didn't have that paperwork. And my dad and mom calls her here in the States. She's a nurse
Mhm.
and she's working a shift in the middle of the shift, patients, and she drops everything,
Ooh.
lets them know I gotta go. And then this is how, like, selfless, drives home, gets this paperwork, and this is in the middle of her shift, faxes it to the visa office
Mhm.
in Lagos, Nigeria, in real time for them to be able to now process it, and everything gets cleared.
So what I'm hearing you say, if she hadn't left her work, they would have not been able to process.
It- I'm telling you. And that's how, it's, now I get a little bit emotional because she's no longer here with us,
Uh-huh.
but she had such a genuine care to see us, me and my siblings, succeed. And it's not like we did anything for her. It was just who she was.
Mhm.
And believe it or not, even when we got here, she moved us into her home she had 4 children, 5 children,
Mhm.
and we all stayed together for, I think it was like 6 months before my mom being the woman. My mom is an amazing, strong woman. She's like, I have to be able to do my own thing,
Yes.
right? Went and got our own apartment. We moved
Mhm.
out, but um, just thinking about just those significant moments,
Mhm.
right, of her just showing up, right, and then just doing that. Because if she doesn't do that, we get denied. Me and my siblings probably still live in the
That's
States, and I never get to cross paths with Dr. Veasy, and we won't be doing
oh
this
yeah.
right now. So it's amazing how life is, and for me, it's just having awareness of how significant being present
Mhm.
in moments, and how one moment could impact and change the
It
entire
does.
trajectory of your life.
Certainly
So
does.
I'm so fortunate that I'm here today, and it hasn't been easy, right? So when I was young, um, education was important to my parents, but it wasn't important to me. But you just, as being having Nigerian parents, Nigerian culture, you just did what your parents asked you to do without questions.
Mhm.
So when younger, I didn't really have a lot of thoughts. I mean, that really generated from just Christian. It was more, you have a set of rules, follow them,
Mhm.
do this, go to school, get your bachelor's, get your master's. It was like, be a doctor, engineer, doctor, engineer, lawyer, or you're not successful. That was the
Okay, so
mindset.
what happens when you don't have those things? Like I never had those things. I never was told do this, do
Yeah.
that, or something that's expected of you. I never had those things. I just said to myself, self, you're not going to stay here. You're
Absolutely.
going to get out of this. You're going to go do something. You want to be something, do something. But that's one of the things that we want the public to understand. You got to have drives too. If you don't have a drive, if there's no driving force behind you, where will you be?
Yeah. But it's amazing because that drive came from within you. You didn't really have anyone. Like,
I didn't.
I had my parents, which I'm so grateful for them,
Mm.
that kind of pushed me into education, right? Whether or not I thrived, I was still putting one foot in front of the other because I had that. But that came from within you at a young age.
Don't
See how
ask me where it
different?
came from. I don't know where
So
it came
different.
from. Yeah.
You know, it's so different our story, but it's amazing
Hmm.
because I don't know. It's like the first time I had a conversation with you, it's like you know how the guard just kind of comes down
Hmm.
and then you can be fully transparent. There's no guard up. There's no, oh, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that.
Hmm.
And then you would just say things that I would take. And you know, sometimes people say, oh, I'm actively listening. I'm an active listener.
Right.
They're not listening to nothing you're saying.
I know.
But what I noticed and recognized when you would talk is some of the things you would say, I would take and I would implement in my
Uh-huh.
life. Right. And I would see the, like what the outcome from that.
Hmm.
And I was like, there's something to some of the things. And I would come every weekend when we talk.
Oh, you
And
didn't tell me
I'll
none of
start
that.
asking you
Hey,
questions.
you
I'll
didn't.
start asking you
You
questions.
didn't tell me I was being therapist or nothing
Not
like
what.
that.
See, see, I love that you said that. And I'm sure in future episodes we'll get into more details around that therapist.
Uh huh.
Something that's frowned upon,
Hmm.
right? From in the in my household. I can't speak for everyone else. You know, sometimes people try to like generalize. I don't do that. I'm very specific to my household and to me and my own personal experience. Just this is what I went through in my house. This is how my parents were, and I don't judge my parents for anything. They raised me and my siblings with the knowledge they had at that time.
Okay.
Now that I'm an adult, I can see the world from my own lens and perception and perspective. I've experienced things. I've generated, like I know the man that I am today, who I am, how I want to approach things, how I want to interact with people.
Okay.
I'm not gonna now say, oh, like whatever you taught me wasn't, no, it was incredible because if I don't have that, I'm not here. That
Yeah.
push, because I think education is important.
Hmm.
Learning is important because I believe you're going to learn until you die. When you stop learning, in my own personal perspective, you're no longer here.
Hmm.
Because how would you, and then making mistakes, which we're going to, dive into deeper in the future. That's the only way for
Now
my,
I'm glad you said mistakes
yeah. It's
because
it's critical.
it is,
It's
and
critical.
it's okay to make them. It's
Absolutely.
okay to make the mistakes, but the solution is what do you do about the mistakes? So
Yes.
people, if somebody tells you that they don't ever make any mistakes, now come on.
Yeah.
You know that isn't real.
Yeah.
They've made them. They maybe are too ashamed to speak about them, but speaking about them will help somebody. Somebody needs to hear whatever's going on. I know my husband tells me this all the time. Don't hide your mistakes, share your mistakes. You're helping somebody else. But a lot of people think less of themselves and
Yes.
don't want to share that. But just knowing sharing is helping somebody else.
I love what you're saying because you're hitting on so many great points. But I think for me, because I always try to bring it back to my experience,
Hmm.
because that's all I can see, my lens. I don't generalize. But I think that comes from a place of fear and judgment, right? When we're vulnerable, we're afraid of people, which
True.
this was my mindset for a long time.
Hmm.
Like in my 20s, teens, I think every decision I made was just looking at what someone else was doing, and I just did that, tried it out, and if it worked, if it didn't work, yeah. But now it's so different because, like, I really pay attention to me,
Hmm.
the voice in my head, understanding thoughts are gonna come, view them, don't believe everything. The future, the past, and the present all happens in the now. That's so important to remember because we tend to try to say, "Oh, I did that in the past," and you feel guilty now.
Hmm.
That person, whoever I was 5 minutes ago, is not who I am right now. That person is long gone. This is it. This is all that counts. This a minute ago, that's the past. It's all happening in the now. So it's so important to remember all these different things, but it's not easy
Hmm.
because it takes consistent self development, working on things, listening, learning from people you admire, being open and trusting. Because I struggle with trust
Hmm.
people, right? I'm the guy that categorized I can't trust them because I had one experience that wasn't pleasant, right?
Now you've hit something else. What do you do when you have that experience of mistrust?
Yeah,
Now the people may have good insight, but how do you handle that? Because if they have mistrust, if they've done something to require you to think, okay, I can't trust you anymore,
Yeah.
how do you continue to open up and divulge and talk and be free? How do you do that with
Faith.
somebody?
Faith. I
Faith.
just learned this recently. Someone told me that trust is like having faith. If I have an interaction with someone and it wasn't pleasant, I can't take this interaction and go to the next person and like automatic. Oh, I don't trust them because I had that previous. I have to have faith that this interaction, whatever it comes with,
Okay.
I'm okay with it. It's just having faith, and I think faith really for me is belief in yourself because I really believe everything stems from within you. Everything. Everything comes from within you. If you're having an interaction with someone that's not pleasant, that's a reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do with that person. If someone is saying something to you and you're being triggered, there's a definition within yourself that's not positive, that's making you like feel, oh man, like why are they saying that to me? Why do I feel like, because you got to get to a point and it never ends of always just no matter what someone says, they're just expressing their lens and it has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with you.
Now, you have a good point again. That's their lens. But let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. That might be their lens.
Yeah.
But you have put up a block. You put up a block there. So even though it's you have to be open, you have to learn how to be open from within yourself. Whatever those triggers and things are, you've got to figure out, what do I need to do? What does Betty need to do to be open when people are speaking, instead of, oh, I'm not listening to this.
Yes.
I'm not paying attention to her. I don't care what she say.
It's
I don't care how she say it. Makes no sense. But you miss things when you don't listen to what others are saying to you, because you're blocking it. So if I'm talking and you don't care for Betty at all, you're blocking out what I'm saying. What do you do to open up that? What do you do in your mind to open up to be able to receive something that has been said? How do you do that?
That's so incredible because when I look at the way, because I've seen that in action, like you interacting with patients,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a superpower because you actively listen. Because some people, and I'm included in this, oh, I'm an active listener.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can go through an entire conversation with someone, and literally once I leave the room, I can't remember what we
Aha.
talked
You
about.
can't remember because you weren't listening. So what does that tell you?
Yeah,
What does it tell? How do you develop? What do you do? What do you do to yourself
yeah,
to say? Because every time somebody's speaking, you should be listening. Now,
yeah,
it's not easy. I'm going to tell you straightforward. It's not an easy task,
yeah,
especially if it's someone that you don't really care for. You're anything they say, you're just blocking it already out.
yeah.
But I challenge you, and I challenge the audience. If you have someone that you don't really care for that much, and we all have them now. Let's be real about it. We all have them.
Absolutely.
But there's some good in everyone. And everyone has something that maybe you don't think of or I don't think of. So I'm guilty as well as anybody else, but I've got to learn to open up. When I don't want to listen, sometimes people will have body language. It's how they're sitting there. If you're listening, you're really engaged, your face contact, your eye contact. But if you're not engaged, you're looking at your phone, you're looking around, you're doing everything. That tells them you're not engaged.
Yeah.
But truthfully, if you want to embrace and embark on new happenings, new things, be able to think differently, it requires a different mindset.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen overnight.
Takes time.
It takes time.
I know. I know. It's so interesting, right?
It's a practice.
Yeah, you got to keep
It's
at
a
it.
practice.
But no, a lot of great stuff there, man. And I think because it just keeps bringing up all these different ideas in my mind. Like,
Mhm.
but I think this is a good place to really talk about maybe the next time we connect um, on the next episode. I want to talk about comfort zones a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Because I 'cause
comfort zones. We're out of our comfort zone
that's-
right now, okay?
like,
We're out of it.
It's as you're talking, I'm like, okay, we're doing this, and because we know each other, and we
Uh-huh.
know this is not something that's within our comfort zone.
No.
So that popped in my head. But really appreciate everyone for tuning in and listening and just listening to us share our perspective. And that's all we want to do. And hopefully we can connect with people that have similar curiosities.
Exactly.
Any last word, Dr. Veasy, before?
Well, my thing is this: similar curiosities, even if they're not similar, connect. We want to hear.
Absolutely.
Because guess what? This is how we learn. This is how everybody learns.
Yes.
We got to get out of that comfort zone. We've made the first step right here, today, right now.
Right now. And that's it, everyone. Thank you for listening. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Of what?
Full Circle Chat.
See you then.
See you then. Oh my God, that was good.